Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a warm welcome to all of you to the Skylight Hotel, Addis Ababa, and to the 11th AFRAA Stakeholders Convention. I wish to extend a particular warm welcome to all of us for taking time off our busy schedules to be here today. This event is kindly and generously sponsored by our host, Ethiopian Airlines, who is also the official carrier of the 11th AFRAA Stakeholders Convention. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the convention will be graced and officially opened by the Ethiopian Minister of Transport. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, on behalf of the African Airlines Association and Ethiopian Airlines, our host, I wish to welcome all of you to the 11th AFRAA Aviation Stakeholders Convention taking place here at the Skylight Hotel. The theme for this event, Changing the African Aviation Narrative, will be the focus of deliberations at this convention. AFRAA is excited to stage this convention for the entire travel ecosystem. Alongside the discussions and deliberations we will be having in this room, we have outside the hall exhibitors who are showcasing various solutions, products, and services that will enhance the business of aviation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, over the next 2 days, delegates will have the opportunity to network and discuss developments in this industry and forge business partnerships. It is the hope of AFRAA that you will find the conference useful and productive. Immediately following the conference on the 10th of May, that is on Wednesday, Ethiopian Aviation Academy will play host to a CSR event for youth in the development of aviation. This event will be kindly sponsored by Collins Aerospace and Ethiopian Airlines and staged in partnership with AFRAA. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, about 140 high school students from various schools across the country will benefit from this program. We thank Ethiopian Airlines, Collins Aerospace for this initiative. At the close of registration for this event, we had recorded 409 delegates. We have amongst these over 30 airlines, most of them represented at the CEO's level. It is an opportunity for all of us to work together to ensure that we have fruitful and successful deliberations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, it gives me great pleasure to kickstart our program for today by first inviting the Secretary General of the African Airlines Association, Mr. Abdérahmane Berthé, to come and give us his opening remarks.
Thank you, Raphael. Good morning. Excellency Dr. Alemu Sime, Minister of Transport of the Republic of Ethiopia, Excellencies Nasise Chali, Minister of Tourism of the Republic of Ethiopia, Excellency Dr. Kazura Kamugisha, Director of Infrastructure and Energy, representing Excellency Amani Abou-Zeid, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy for the African Union Commission, Mr. Girmawake, Chairman of Ethiopian Airlines, Mr. Mesfin Bekele, Group Chief Executive Officer of Ethiopian Airlines, Mr. Bari Kashambo, Regional Director, East and Southern African Regional Office of the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, Ms. Adeyemi Adefunke, Secretary General of the African Civil Aviation Commission, AFCAC, Mr. Glyn Yog, Director General of the International Air Cargo Association, CHACA, Chief Executive Officers, Senior Executives of Civil Aviation Authorities, Airport and Airlines, Aviation Industry Suppliers, Partners, Sponsors, and Exhibitors, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. It is a great pleasure to welcome you to this 11th Aviation Stakeholders Convention organized by the African Airlines Association and hosted by Ethiopian Airlines in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I want to express my gratitude to Excellency the Minister of Transport, our guest of honor, for gracing this event with his presence at the opening ceremony. I want to thank Ethiopian Airlines Group Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Mesfin Bekele, for hosting this annual convention. Thank you, Mr. Mesfin, for your support to AFRAA. I firmly believe that under your leadership and the support of the Ethiopian government, Ethiopian Airlines will continue to grow, enhance intra-African connectivity, and make air transport affordable for African citizens. Our gratitude goes to the international and regional aviation stakeholders, institutions, and partners who have found time to be with us and share their vision for our industry. I want to thank again all delegates, sponsors, and exhibitors for attending this convention. I thank you all for your presence and support of AFRAA. The theme of this year's convention, Changing the African Aviation Narrative, is a unique opportunity to strategize for better resilience and sustainability in Africa's aviation industry. We think it's essential to change the future of our industry with transformative ideas and actions. This convention convenes stakeholders to dialogue and deliberate on subject matters to pave the way for our industry's development and change the narrative of African aviation. The program outline includes air transport sustainability, digitalization, enhancing cargo operations, fast-tracking SATM implementation, customer satisfaction, safety enhancement, training the next-gen aviation professionals. This convention also aims to establish lasting relationships and partnerships between aviation suppliers and airlines to benefit African aviation. Ladies and gentlemen, African airlines face many challenges that we need to consider and find lasting solutions. Critical among the challenges facing our industry is its sustainability. The Air Transport Sustainability Laboratory was convened from 27 June to 1st July 2022 by the African Aviation Industry Group, AIG, and hosted by AFRAA in Nairobi. The initiative brought experts from various sectors to craft transformative projects to ensure the efficient development of air transport in Africa. I want to call upon all stakeholders to support the implementation of the roadmap resulting from the laboratory's projects. One key challenge facing our industry remains intra-African connectivity and air transport affordability. The objective of a single African air transport market is to improve connectivity. In this regard, we regret that some signatory states of the SATAM still deny many airlines fifth freedom and even third and fourth traffic rights. AFRAA supports the SATAM pilot implementation program initiated by the African Civil Aviation Commission in the framework of cluster countries, hoping that the situation will positively evolve. Only 10% of African citizens can afford air transport today, meaning there is considerable room for growth. In addition to the policies at political level, airlines must enhance cooperation through interline cost sharing and partnerships and reduce their cost of operation to make air transport affordable for African citizens. Finally, I sincerely thank you all for attending this convention. I wish us fruitful reflections and deliberations during the coming 2 days. Thank you for your kind attention and enjoy your stay in Addis Ababa.
Thank you very much, Secretary General of AFRAA, Mr. Abdérahmane Berthé, for those warm remarks to welcome us to this convention. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite next our host and Group CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, Mr. Mesfin Bekele, to make some remarks. Thank you. Mr. Bekele, you're welcome.
Your Excellency, Dr. Alemu Sime, Minister of Transport and Logistics of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellency Nasise Chali, Minister of Tourism for the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellency Dr. Amani Abou-Zeid, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, African Union Commission, Honorable Mr. Abdérahmane Berthé, Secretary General of AFRAA, Honorable Ms. Adefunke Adeyemi, Secretary General of AFRAA Civil Aviation Commission, Honorable Mr. Berry Kashambo, Regional Director of ICAO for Eastern and Southern Africa Regional Office, Honorable Mr. Glenn Hughes, Director General, the International Air Cargo Association, Mr. Girma Wake, Chairman of the Ethiopian Management Board, Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to welcome you all to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, which is the seat of African Union, Economic Commission for Africa, ECA, and other international organizations. I also thank you for coming to participate in the 11th Aviation Stakeholders Convention organized by AFRAA. Ethiopian Airlines is pleased to host this convention in Addis Ababa at Skylight Hotel, which was built and owned by Ethiopian Airlines Group. We would like to express our thanks and appreciation to AFRAA for giving Ethiopian Airlines the opportunity to host this convention this year. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we all agree that the aviation sector in Africa is underdeveloped. The demand for intra-Africa air transport is underserved. The airline industry in Africa is fragmented. Most airlines in Africa are still struggling to survive or to stand by their own. The airline industry in the continent is entangled with several constraints and problems. Heavy tax, which does not exist anywhere outside Africa. Lack of conducive operating environment. Traffic right restrictions. High operating costs, including high fuel prices. Shortage of MRO facilities. Shortage of aviation professionals and others. Airports, navigation service providers, civil aviation authorities, and ground handling companies have their own challenges in giving standard services due to lack of investment on new technologies and training. Single African Air Transport Market, SATM, which was supposed to accelerate the development of the African aviation industry, could not be implemented successfully up to now. These issues form part of the African aviation narrative. As a consequence, while the African aviation industry was expected to serve as an engine for economic development of the continent, unfortunately, it is lagging far behind. I believe AFRA's decision to make the theme of the 11th Aviation Stakeholders Convention, changing the African aviation narrative, is the right topic and timely. Africa's aviation industry has immense potentials for growth and offers very promising opportunities for all stakeholders in the sector. The full potentials of the aviation business in the continent are yet to be unleashed. It is our responsibility to rebrand African aviation by leveraging our capabilities through cooperation and partnership. I believe that this convention offers the best opportunity for us to put our heads together, discuss the ripe opportunities Africa's aviation offers to stakeholders, and map out the best course of actions towards unlocking the immense potential. As the leading Pan-African carrier, Ethiopian Airlines has been doing its best to change the African aviation narrative in its own way for the last several decades. It will continue doing so in cooperation with all concerned stakeholders. Our motto, the new spirit of Africa, inspires growth through cooperation and partnership. Ethiopian Airlines has been expanding its network in Africa to reach most Africans and provide them with an affordable air transport service, even by operating several routes at loss for long periods of time. We have been assisting several sister African airlines by providing MRO services tailored to their needs. We have trained several Africans to become pilots, technicians, cabin crew, and serve the industry in the continent. We are also collaborating with different African governments in establishing national carriers, thereby contributing our share for the growth of African aviation industry. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, unlocking the full potentials of the aviation business brings immense benefit for the socio-economic development of Africa. In addition to facilitating trade and tourism, the aviation business also has a ripple effect in the wider economic sphere and helps in creating employment opportunities in Africa. Africa's aviation sector also offers great business opportunities for suppliers, solution providers, equipment manufacturers, and others. I hope that during the coming few days, you will have fruitful discussions on the opportunities in the sector, as well as the challenges that are blocking the growth of Africa's aviation, towards realizing its full potentials and changing the African aviation narrative. This hotel is just 10-minute drive from the center of the city. Addis Ababa has very good places to show to its visitors. I invite you to use the opportunity to visit some of these places while you are in Addis. If you wish, we can arrange transport and facilitate the visit. For those of you who would like to visit Ethiopian Airlines facilities, we shall arrange the visit tomorrow. We shall try to make your stay in Addis Ababa as comfortable as possible. Finally, I wish you all fruitful discussions and a pleasant stay here in Addis Ababa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ato Mesfin. In spite of all that you've done for us through hosting this event, you are still adding more. We have the opportunity to visit ET facilities. We also have the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to visit the city if you want to do so, and all courtesy Ethiopian Airlines. We thank you so much. Changing the African narrative is what the theme of this conference is. And we shall progress with the opening speeches, and it is my pleasure and honor to invite Dr. Kamugisha Kazaura, who is Director, Infrastructure and Energy at the African Union Commission, who is here representing Her Excellency Dr. Amani Abou-Zeid, the Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy of the African Union. Dr. Kazaura, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I wish to convey the apologies of Her Excellency Dr. Amani Abou-Zeid, the Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy at the African Union Commission, who would have very much wished to be with us today. However, due to some other equally important engagements, she had to travel outside the country. So I'm here to deliver the remarks on our behalf. Your Excellency, Dr. Alemu Sime, Minister of Transport of Ethiopia, and the guest of honor. Your Excellency, Nasise Jari, Minister of Tourism. Mr. Abdérahmane Berthé, the Secretary General of the African Airlines Association. Mr. Mesfin Bekele, Group CEO of Ethiopian Airlines. Ms. Adefunke Adeyemi, Secretary General of the African Civil Aviation Commission. Mr. Barry Kashambo, ICAO Regional Director of Eastern and Southern Africa Regional Office. Mr. Glenn Hoos, Director General of the International Air Cargo Association. Distinguished Director Generals of Civil Aviation Authorities, Chief Executive Officers of African Airlines, distinguished aviation stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I feel honored to join you this morning and to address this important 11th Aviation Stakeholders Convention. It is always a pleasure to meet and exchange with the friends and partners in the African aviation industry. I thank you all for your time. Your presence here clearly demonstrates your profound commitment to the development, strengthening, and promotion of the airlines industry in Africa. Let me begin by thanking the Secretary General of the African Airlines Association, AFRAA, Mr. Abdérahmane Berthé, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Ethiopian Airlines, Mr. Mesfin Bekele, for kindly inviting the African Union Commission to attend this convention under the theme of changing the African aviation narrative. Guest of honor, distinguished guests, you are all aware the important role of air transport in the economic and physical integration of our continent. It is one of the driving forces behind the socio-economic development of Africa, which, as you know, requires an efficient, reliable, fast, and safe transport system in order to not only achieve the physical connectivity, but also support the development of trade and tourism. The African Union Commission has been playing a leading role to lead actions and strengthen synergies for the sustainable development of all transport. Allow me to mention here some of the recent actions that the African Union has spearheaded with the support of our key partners in the aviation sector. One, creation of an enabling environment for the growth of transport industry by putting in place relevant and efficient air transport policy and regulatory instruments. This has been done through the launching of the Single African Air Transport Market, SATAM, among the flagship projects under the Agenda 2063. Second, drive dialogue and establish linkages between policymakers, the industry players, and the regulators of the industry in order to accelerate the implementation of the agreed priority projects and programs under the aviation sector. Three, coordinate initiatives that aim to improving facilitation of our airports and the use of digital solutions to improve efficiencies and ensure a safe and sustainable recovery of the air industry. Fourth, as one of the outcomes of the side events of sustainability of African aviation, which was held on the margins of the AU Summit in February this year, the AUC, in partnership with ICAO, is developing a sustainable aviation fuels SAF initiative, which will support the global and continental climate agenda. A continental strategy with a clear position on how Africa can implement the initiative will be developed, and it is my sincere hope that this convention will serve as an opportunity to review the progress which has been made so far with regards to this initiative. Excellency, distinguished participants, I am optimistic about what the coming years have in store for the African aviation industry. According to IATA, by 2022, Africa aviation industry saw traffic reach or exceed pre-pandemic levels. Africa total international air connectivity at the end of 2022 was 93% of the pre-pandemic levels, and international air connectivity was 77% of the pre-crisis level. From a recent AFRAA report of April 2023, 85 million passengers were carried by Africa by April this year, and the traffic is expected to reach 94.7% of the pre-pandemic levels, with the percentage of international routes operated by African airlines exceeding the pre-COVID levels since October 2022. To ensure the sustainability or sustainable recovery of the aviation sector from the adverse impacts of COVID-19 pandemic and the continuing global crisis, it is recommended that the following actions be undertaken. 1, African airlines need to enhance collaboration to support the growing demand of intra-African air transport connectivity. This can be done by increasing the number of city pairs or more direct routes between the African capitals. And I think this has been echoed by the Group CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, as well as the Secretary General of AFRAA in their opening remarks. Second, develop guidelines and economic regulations frameworks for rationalization of taxes, charges, and fees. The implementation of the SATAM, AFCFTA, and the Protocol on Free Movement will be important to establish a more competitive and efficient aviation market that will boost trade and tourism. 3, African member states need to consider reducing the taxes on fuels and abolish custom duties on spare parts as well as aircraft in line with the relevant provisions of the ICAO Convention. This is in line with the AU Executive Council decision of February 2022 to implement recommendations on reduction of air transport costs in Africa. And finally, we call upon AFRAA to continue supporting African airlines, boost flight operations efficiency in African airspace to attain productive gains for airlines and air navigation service providers. Excellency, the AU Executive Council meeting held in July 2022 made important decisions to support the industry, infrastructure, and energy sectors overcome the challenges associated with the Russian-Ukraine crisis. The decisions included a request for the African Union Commission, together with AFCAC and AFRAA, to develop strategies for collaboration of African airlines. This convention, therefore, is a good opportunity for African airlines to exchange strategies for enhancing collaboration, expand their transport routes network to address the current logistical challenges, and explore sustainable sources of aviation fuels within Africa as an important strategy to mitigate the crisis. I am confident that we can work together, as always, to make sure that we implement these actions within the agreed timeframes to transform our industry for the benefits of our African and the generation to come. I once again commend the now 36 African states that have so far joined the SATAM and take the opportunity to welcome the 36th state, the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe, which joined SATAM in April 2023. I call upon the remaining African member states to also join SATAM. I wish to conclude by once again reaffirming the commitment of the African Union Commission to continuing with its efforts to advancing the sustainable development of air transport industry on the continent. I thank you and I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
I thank you very much, Dr. Kazaura, for ably delivering those remarks on behalf of Her Excellency, the Commissioner of Infrastructure and Energy of the African Union Commission. And we would want to thank the AU for all the efforts that you are putting in to ensure that African aviation takes its rightful place. We appreciate your efforts with SATAM and all the other regional initiatives that you are embarking on and pushing ahead to ensure that African aviation is what it ought to be. Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again my pleasure and honor to invite Her Excellency Nasise Chali, who is the Minister of Tourism of the Republic of Ethiopia, to give us her opening remarks. Madam, you're welcome.
Your Excellency, Dr. Alemu Sime, Minister of Logistics and Transport, Your Excellency, Mr. Abdérahmane Berthé, Secretary General of AFRAA, Your Excellency, Mr. Mesfin, CEO of Ethiopian Airlines Group, Your Excellency, Dr. Kamugisha Kazura, Director, Infrastructure and Energy of the AU Commission, Excellencies, distinguished members of AFRAA, and distinguished participants, all protocols observed, good morning to you all. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere greetings and warmest welcome to Ethiopia, the land of origins. It is an honor to host the 11th Aviation Stakeholders Convention held under the theme Changing the African Aviation Narrative, hosted by the Ethiopian Airlines Group in the beautiful African diplomatic capital of Africa, Addis Ababa. Ladies and gentlemen, tourism has continued to be a leading global economic sector by making remarkable progress for decades. A variety of factors contributed to uninterrupted growth and upsurge of the tourism sector, the transformation of the air transport being one of the powerful stimulus. Overall, the significance of transportation in tourism development cannot be denied. Good and reliable destination accessibility, which is determined by the transport service provided, is a fundamental condition for the development of any tourist destination, providing the vital link between the tourist-generating countries or areas and destinations. According to the UNWTO, air travel has continued to be the dominant mode of travel in international arrivals. In relation to the status of the aviation industry in Africa, the large size of the continent, coupled with a number of landlocked countries and the sheer distance between key African cities, makes air transport a crucial means of transport for the continent. The poor overland infrastructure in the continent also underpins the importance of airline connections. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, although Africa has shown significant improvement in tourism over the years, yet Africa's tourism generally remains uncompetitive on a number of areas. On one hand, the region's share of international tourism arrivals and receipts has remained the lowest internationally. On the other hand, Africa has not given significant attention to the regional market, as many efforts traditionally target international tourists from outside the region, despite a huge regional market available within the continent. Africa's underperforming and uncompetitive tourism sector, both within the domestic market and foreign market, necessitates a strategic intervention that help to address, among other things, the challenges relating to accessibility. Air transport is the hallmark of intra-Africa tourism and regional integration at large, having a great importance in driving intra-Africa tourism. In relation to this, ensuring the free movement of people among African countries is another determining factor for the growth of inter-Africa tourism. As articulated in Aspiration 2 of the African Union's Agenda 2063, Africa aspires to be a continent with seamless borders, where the free movement of people, capital goods, and services is ensured. To realize this vision, greater visa openness is a key prerequisite, resulting in the removal of time, cost, and process obstacles to moving freely across the continent. Excellencies, official reports noted that the restrictive, expensive, and inefficient visa processes have curtailed intra-Africa travel. It has been also observed that traveling within the region by Africans is generally more restricted compared to outsiders. Therefore, deepening intra-regional tourism requires lessening travel restrictions and regulations by facilitating travel formalities and procedures in respect to entry and exit points, customs, currency, safety and security, as well as health. More importantly, liberalizing air transport, optimizing connectivity, and implementing coordinated and holistic measures towards tourism and air transport development is crucial. In order to enhance intra-African mobility, the AU Strategic Framework for Tourism also suggests that policy and regulatory measures need to be implemented to facilitate efficient and affordable intra-African transportation system. In specific terms, if Africa is said to effectively utilize its immense tourism potential for sustainable growth, a reliable and efficient air transport is an essential prerequisite. African governments should be committed enough to invest in aviation infrastructures and facilities that can connect countries, cities, and tourist destinations. These infrastructures and facilities put light on the hidden treasures of Africa and foster socio-economic development. To this end, Ethiopia has been striving to enhance intra-African air connectivity through various measures which are aligned with relevant regional and international standards and frameworks. More specifically, Ethiopian Airlines has made remarkable stride in connecting not only Africans to Africa, but also Africa to the rest of the world. Furthermore, the Ethiopian government firmly believes in African integration and is implementing a range of initiatives destined to strengthen regional integration and improve intra-African tourism development. Mindful of varied and abundant tourism resources the country possesses, the Ethiopian government identified tourism as one of the key priority sectors. Hence, we are investing more in transport infrastructure, tourism facility development, destination and product development, and other areas of the sector. It is believed that sustainable and competitive tourism can be achieved if tourism destinations are connected to each other in an efficient and affordable manner. Thus, Ethiopia is working to strengthen the aviation sector, not only internally, but also regionally. I hope your deliberation in this session will also solve the other key challenges the air industry in Africa is facing. Finally, I would second the Group CEO, Ato Mesfin's invitation, and I would like to invite you all to visit the marvelous tourist attractions of Ethiopia, particularly of Addis, and I wish you all a pleasant stay in Addis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those remarks and for also welcoming us to Ethiopia and inviting us to visit the city. We shall take this invitation very seriously. Distinguished guests, it is now my singular honor and privilege to invite to the podium our guest of honor, representing the government of Ethiopia in the capacity of the Minister of Logistics and Transport of the Republic of Ethiopia, His Excellency, Dr. Alemu Sime. He would deliver his speech and officially open the convention. Thank you very much, sir.
Your Excellency, Nasise Chali, Minister of Tourism of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Honorable Mr. Abdérahmane Berthé, African Airlines Association Secretary General, Honorable Mr. Alemu, August Director General of the International Air Cargo Association, Honorable Mr. Kamil Alwahi, IATA Regional Vice President, Middle East and Africa, Your Excellency Dr. Kaungisha Kawari, AOC Commissioner for Infrastructure, Honorable Mr. Gurmawake, Board Chairman of Ethiopian Airlines Group, Honorable Mr. Mesfin, CEO of Ethiopian Airlines Group, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Ministry of Transport and Logistics of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and myself, I would like to welcome you all to the 11th Aviation Sector Stakeholders Convention and to our beautiful city of Addis Ababa. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the hosts of this event, Ethiopian Airlines and African Airlines Association. The aviation industry is a giant web of firms and stakeholders working together to form the aviation ecosystem. Each steering plays as a role for the success of the industry as a whole. Thus, we can say this convention, which gathers us all in one space, is truly an important step to change the African aviation narratives. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are currently living in an era that is economically and technologically advanced like never before, and if our Africa is to catch up to this new normal of our world, we need to strengthen and speed up the changes that we had started to make. The transport industry is the wheel that mobilizes Africa to the future that we all strive to witness. When we look at the level that the aviation industry had reached in other parts of the world, it is clear to see that the sector is lagging behind in our continent. Today in Africa, the aviation industry supports an estimated 7.7 million jobs and 63 billion US dollar in African economic activity, which is a significant contribution. However, considering the population size of the continent and the enormous potential that it has, these numbers are very far from being enough. The Ethiopian government understands the potential of this huge opportunity and strives to grab onto it. Our airport was built 20 years back with the capacity of 6 million passengers annually, serving both domestic and international passengers. But we were surprised to find airport congested within just few years. Our currently serving airport had went through major expansions and upgrades. As many of you had noticed at your arrival at the airport, It is a modern facility equipped with latest technology airport products. It is adequately facilitates mandatorily and luxurious airport facilities and services. It accommodates a VIP terminal, a 5,000 square meters lounge, and an in-terminal hotel. We now have an airport that serves 22 million international passengers annually, while a separate terminal has the capacity of serving 3 million domestic passengers is on the verge of completion. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is a slight example that we can take into account when analyzing the huge potential that our continent has. The Ethiopian government not only plans to expand airports, but plans to build an airport city. One of our mega projects which will be completed within not more than 5 years of time, with an estimated cost of $5 billion is an airport city which will be in just 40 kilometers distance from our current Addis Ababa Bole International Airport. This mega project will have 4 runways and the capacity of 100 million passengers annually. A smooth transportation on express roads and fast trains will grant access for passengers to connect to the capital. The building of this mega airport shows the commitment of the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia to strengthen the aviation industry in the country and further to the continent. Initiatives like this are a light of hope to African aviation, but considering numerous and complex issues that the sector faces in our continent, a collaborative effort is deeply needed. African skies are the hardest to navigate in perspective that it is guarded with strict policies. This industry would very much flourish in a much liberal regime as it brings more choices and more competitive fares for the citizens, paving the way for a smooth social economic tie between nations and creating an inviting environment for international business and tourism. I believe governments must lend a supportive hand in this regard as they play a significant role in changing the dynamics of the sector by revising that contribute to the greater good. One aspect that in dragging down African aviation inadequate infrastructure for the number of passengers that we plan to transport and the level that we strive to reach in the industry, it is no doubt that we need to enhance our infrastructure to match the global standard. The investment we make on modern transport infrastructures and facilities equipped with latest technology is something that we can rely on for the long run. A couple of years from now, aviation, as we know, it will completely change, and we need to get ready for it starting from now. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a world which is getting taken over by digitalization. Our paper-based workflow a couple of years from now is not going to be competent. Papers are replaced with digital data which cannot be efficiently analyzed with the facilities we currently have. Thus, we need modern infrastructures and facilities that can handle artificial intelligence, biometrics data, and digital certifications. In conclusion, the African aviation sector requires a major work on policies and advancement in infrastructures. However, even with all these aspects in place, we cannot realize the change without a skilled manpower. We are blessed in this regard as we have a significant number of youths that we can train to lead the sector to success. I wish you to have a successful deliberation on the action to be taken to unlock the potential of the aviation sector in Africa. Finally, I would like to declare the convention is officially opened. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Minister of Transport and Logistics of the Republic of Ethiopia, for those wise words and for taking the opportunity to officially open our convention. Ladies and gentlemen, as is tradition of AFRAA Stakeholders Convention, there's normally a token of appreciation given by the joint organizers, African Airlines Association and the host, Ethiopian Airlines, to our guest of honor. It is now my pleasure to invite our guest of honor to receive this token of appreciation from the Secretary General of AFRAA and the CEO of Ethiopian Airlines. Shall we give a clap? And thank you very much. Now, before we break for coffee, may I request our guests to still remain seated whilst I invite African airline CEOs here present to come to the podium so that we can have a group photograph. African airline CEOs that are here present. I also invite the board chair of Ethiopian Airlines Group, Atogri Mawake, if he's here. I would want to invite the regional director of ICAO. I would want to invite the SG of AFCAC, the CEO of AZA, the SG of ACI Africa, and the DG of TIACA. Please, can you come up? And please just line up behind our guest here, and then we take a photograph quickly before we get on our coffee break. Thank you.